In the beginning, only chaos existed, flooding all existence with his presence. In his magnificence, he created space-time and populated the vast void with infinite universes. Upon contemplating his creation, he named it Aeterna. Innumerable beings were conceived, and proud of his work, he liberated them, blessing them with free will. The passage of time corrupted his utopia. The beings he had created were hungry for power and began to destroy their own existence. As a result, two main factions were formed, light and darkness, and they went to war against each other, eager to win power over Aeterna, although it belonged to neither. Outraged, Chaos cursed the leaders with immortality, obliging them to fight for eternity in the hope of maintaining the equilibrium that both were anxious to destroy. Cursed, the Queen of Light and the King of Darkness would fight to the death for the throne of Aeterna and to restore equilibrium. The defeated monarch would come back to life, condemned to fight once more for victory and recover the power lost in battle. Chaos was pleased with himself, since he had achieved the alternate reign of light and darkness, thereby establishing a perfect equilibrium until the end of time, until eternity no longer existed, until the end of all existence. Life after life. Life after life. The endless cycle of night and day. And my hand is the brush. The cycles of light and darkness followed one another and continued their reign over Aeterna in chaotic harmony. The eternal cycle of night and day. The eternal cycle of night and day. Battle by battle. Life and death. At the peak of the battle, with the queen kneeling before the king awaiting the killing blow, she glimpsed a shadow of doubt in his eyes. She gathered the little light she had left, snatched up the sword at her feet, and in one first swoop penetrated the body of her nemesis, who faded away under her impassive stare. She was astonished she did not feel euphoria. Instead, a strange sadness gripped her soul, as if a longing older than time itself had awoken inside her. The years became centuries, and the king never returned. Equilibrium had been destroyed, and the world became submerged in an era of unparalleled light, whilst in the tormented soul of the queen, a question resounded with a thunderous echo. What was that shadow of doubt I saw in the king's eyes? She was confused, and since the king would not be keeping his date with destiny, she decided to embark upon the search for an answer. Alone against all opposition, she began her journey to an uncertain destiny, she entered the depths of Aeterna, reaching the doors of the abyss. She unsheathed her sword, ready for battle, and to her surprise, the doors opened. Inside, terrible beasts made way for her to pass. At the end of the dark path was the cradle of the soul of the cursed king. Inside, the fallen monarch was seated on his throne, impassive. Life after life. Life after life. The eternal cycle of night and day. Glance after glance, their souls crossed, and she suddenly understood everything. She had always known the answer deep inside, but had never accepted it. Their rivalry through the cycles of war had given way to something more intense and pure. Light and darkness, once eternally at war, united and created a new, living, ethereal being. Neither night nor day, neither light nor darkness. It was the Grey Soul. Time is the canvas, and my hand is the brush. The passage of time did not disturb the Grey Soul, who rested impassive in the palace of Aeterna, without reaction, nor change, nor evolution, nor emotion. Like one that had never existed before, united the monarchs in a romance during countless centuries. And because of this, the power of light perpetuated the kingdom, breaking the equilibrium. During this eternity, something began to spoil the king's dream. Light flooded everything and his strength dwindled. Little by little, the queen's dominance consumed his own existence, and he was powerless to avoid it. Through the darkness came doubt. He increasingly feared losing his power and worried that his selfishness would cloud his judgment. Only the destruction of the queen would lead to a new cycle and end his suffering. Overwhelmed by the situation and refusing to succumb to the designs of chaos, he left the palace in search of the answer. He knew of only one being in Aeterna capable of helping him. He traveled to the Temple of the Kings in search of the entity older than time itself, the Chronicler. Omniscient, he knew all that had happened in Aeterna since its beginnings. From the most trivial to the most heroic. But what had happened was so exceptional that even the Chronicler couldn't provide an answer. However, he did reveal a terrifying truth. The commandments of chaos, the absolute laws that governed all the principles of the universe. One of these dictated that only one being of light and one being of darkness can exist. The mandate was definitive. Chaos would not allow the existence of a third party. The king trembled and the suspicions of the Chronicler were confirmed. When your creation is born, one of you will cease to exist. The king collapsed, terrorized. Which affinity will the Grey Soul have? Which of the two of us will be condemned? But all was not lost, for another secret was revealed to him. An entity existed that was able to interpret time and answer questions never before answered. Maybe this entity could offer a solution. Miss the canvas, and my hand is the brush. A decision made is a rewritten future. Standing before the oracle, the king posed his question hopefully, but before he could finish, the woman raised her hand silently. She showed him through his own eyes what he was so anxious to know: the nature of the gray soul. Far from calming his fears, the truth only served to increase them, taking them to unimaginable limits. He now knew the destiny of his fruit, but now more than ever, he needed a solution to the imminent reality. The oracle warned him of the possibility of changing the future, but under no circumstances could the gray soul be destroyed. Upon receiving this warning, the king was shown 3 conditions that must be met. Only Chaos, the supreme god, has the ability to alter what is about to happen. And such is his power that only a fragment of his essence can rewrite the future. You must bring the fragment to me. The instinct of a soul can only be modified if it is present. You must take it from its cradle and put it into another vessel to transport it. As a last condition, you must not reign over Aeterna at the time of the ritual, because the soul will only hatch with a change of cycle, and you must be the one to execute it.
Isadorokame. Sonami nakate korome. Kausu enta. Kisoda mato.
Etamasu isataunasako eda. Nekoru masudaka. Akane natokisama. Boronotaro damakones.
Isatau kero tau. Nate damasu korotome. Orei mai kanire nato karama. Masoto. Suroma. Sekuro katara nedoro. Neakata doro nasi. Sata kiro.
Isatauko soto nesta. Ide Satoru Kanaga. Sashiro noreoma deska.
Meko sesade.
Nasora. Isataukoro ine.
What nobody knew is that I actually altered the destiny of the soul at my will.